I was bullied up and down school. I asked my parents to homeschool me so many times. School was awful, but now that just confirmed for me that I was different, and that was a two-way street. All the accommodations that we put into place with my 504
Mm.
really did a lot of great work. The teachers were my safe haven. I think I just mostly struggled, and I don't think my parents knew how to help me with this, was the social aspect. I think this is a big, hard thing for us when we're younger and we have our diagnosis. How to make friends, how to keep friends.
Uh, Helen Simpson, welcome to Living with FASD. I'm
Thank you,
so
Patty.
I'm so glad to add our candid conversation to the season 4, right? I'm really excited. This is 100 episodes are out, actually a few more by the time I start recording season 4, and I'm just really excited to have some neat people lined up, and I've been trying to get with you for a long time. So I'm so glad you're here sitting down with me.
100. That is amazing. What an accomplishment, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when you consider that I launched the podcast as a way of avoiding editing my book,
Just for you to have to go around and edit your podcast.
right? I thought editing the book was hard.
Way hard.
Podcast is way harder because I'm just not a techno person.
But the skills that
That's,
you've learned from this, I'm sure, are
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so you are part of the collection of episodes that where we all everyone talking has living experience with FASD. So, as you were just saying a moment ago, I've met the neatest people since finding out that people who are living with FASD are my peeps.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me how old were you when you figured out what was going on? Were you a kid? Were you an adult?
Yeah, so I was 11 years old when I actually got my diagnosis.
Okay.
So when I was placed into foster care at 3 months old,
Mm.
at the time of my birth, they knew my birth mother was an addict. She had tested positive for heroin, cocaine, methadone, and alcohol at the time of my birth. So going into
Wow.
foster care, they knew I was substance affected. And then when my parents got me, my adoptive parents, they were told everything that was going on. There was a lot of dysmaturity. I wasn't meeting my milestones like I
Mm.
should have. So they immediately, my parents are so great, implemented speech therapy, physical therapy, counseling, any kind of early intervention they could get their hands on, they
Yeah.
implemented, and some things helped, some things didn't. Elementary school, really, it was just reading and speech that was a tricky part, but finally, when I got into the beginning of middle school, at the end of elementary school, very obvious that something was not right. I was starting to have severe tremors, the dysmaturity, I was much younger, um, mature-wise than my friends. Consequences, poor impulse, it was just all
Mhm.
towering up, and
Yeah.
so we finally were able to get that diagnosis. We met with a neurologist, a
Mhm.
psychologist, all of that, and finally got that diagnosis, and that was a game changer. From there, I could start getting the help in schools as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I was much older. I was 56 when I figured it out and 60 when I was officially diagnosed. But I know my mom, I mean, and of course, I hold her blameless because I'm a child of the 60s. It was before Ken Jones, had
Yeah.
figured out anything about FAS. But so nobody knew back then. But I hold her blameless because the way she cared for me with my diabetes, I know, she would have chewed off her left leg to save me,
Yeah.
help me, whatever. She kept me alive when there was no technology that diabetes offers these days. So I know she would have done everything. And yeah, she had no idea. She had no idea, but she already, I think, was in tune enough with me to kind of just intuitively.
See.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how hard was it to get a diagnosis when you're older? Like, do you know how different it was compared to what you've heard
It's
people that have gotten it earlier on have said?
yeah, so, as a child welfare social worker, I was always frustrated because of the limited availability of people that do the assessments.
Right.
You know, at the time I was living in Bakersfield, California, and you had to travel down to Los Angeles or twice as far down to San Diego. And the waiting lists were 1 to 2 years long
Just
for
to get
yeah.
wow.
And the systems weren't addressing it. In my county, mental health was saying, alcohol? That's a developmental issue. Go over to the regional center. And the regional center was saying, alcohol? That's a behavioral thing. Go to mental health. And
Nobody
I'm
wants to
just
take
there like, I don't give a crap who has primary responsibility.
yeah.
I want to give good tools to all of y'all. You know, everyone was just busy doing that. And so that's always a frustration. And I think it is in a great many communities across the nation and really across the world. But it's even more so for adults. There are a few programs that do kind of a holistic panel type of assessment instead of an individual psychologist, so or an individual medical doctor. So I was lucky enough that that's how I got my confirmation, and it was through a colleague that I knew from LinkedIn.
That's a blessing.
Yeah,
Have that
so
chance.
I had a number of tests done through online through various companies that did their own interpretation. Then
Okay.
this professional just pulled everything together, and did some of her own stuff too. But yeah, so my diagnosis is a neurodevelopmental disability related
Okay.
to prenatal alcohol exposure, so NDPAE.
Okay.
So, which is a relatively new,
Yeah, I was gonna say I've not been familiar with that term.
it's listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's a way of expanding the list of people who can do a diagnosis, fully shorten the waiting list. However, because it's in the psychology, you know, the DSM is part of psychology, part of mental health.
Right.
And the danger with that is that once you are in the mental health, then a lot of things get pushed off the side, you
Yep,
know.
swept under the rug,
Oh,
yeah.
that's not real. It's in your mind.
Yeah.
So,
That's a dangerous slope for us. That's a very dangerous slope for us to be told that.
yeah,
Excuse me, yeah.
yeah. So, in fact, I'm putting an abstract into the for the Seattle conference, and if they choose it, then and if they do an accommodation to let it be virtual, then I'll be presenting on that.
That would be amazing. Okay, I'm rooting for you. I've been seeing quite a few things about that keeps coming up in my email, so that's exciting.
Yeah, so it's a presentation Jody Culp and I will be doing together.
I love Jody. Okay,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So you got the diagnosis at 11. What changed for you? Oh, it sounds like your mom was doing a lot of things with a lot of the developmental pieces
Yes.
prior to that diagnosis. And then after the diagnosis, then you started getting school support. How did life change for you?
I think the part that changed for me the most was I already knew I was very different than anybody else, and to me, this was like
Our peers
confirmation.
have a way of pointing that out, don't they?
Oh, man, I was bullied up and down school. I asked my parents to homeschool me so many times. School was awful, but now that just confirmed for me that I was different, and that was a two-way street. There was good things to that. There was not so great things to that. School, I ended up excelling in because I was getting the supports I needed. I enjoyed learning. All the accommodations that we put into place with my 504
Mm,
really did a lot of great work. The teachers were my safe haven. So that was the good part. I think I just mostly struggled, and I don't think my parents knew how to help me with this, was the social aspect. I think this is a big, hard thing for us when we're younger and we have our diagnosis. How to make friends, how to keep friends, how to just maintain a healthy, positive
mm.
friendships in our life.
Yeah. I never had a lot, and generally, the people that would befriend me lost their other friendships because they were willing to hang out with me.
So that was the most difficult part for
The
me.
social aspect. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I also was bullied, and a lot of the people that would befriend me lost their other friendships. And is that something else that you experienced as well?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's why I pushed so hard to write the most recent book I wrote because there's a lot of books for older teenagers, parents for kids with FASD. There's a
Mhm.
couple for like a much younger uh, much younger in, higher elementary school, middle school. You're trying to find out who you are.
Yeah.
There's so much peer pressure surrounding you. You're easily convinced or you're naive. You want to trust everybody. That leads you to make poor decisions. You
Yeah.
just want to be liked. That leads you to make poor decisions.
And
There's just so
these are things that affect every kid, not
yeah,
just those of us who have social challenges or emotional challenges or are just developmentally delayed in a variety of ways.
being a kid, period,
Yeah.
is so
Mm.
challenging.
Yeah. Plus, those are the years where we're undergoing a whole lot of physical changes. Our face is changing a lot in those years and
Yeah.
not always in kind ways.
Yeah.
It's
I
I
look at
wish we could go to bed and then wake up with our adult face instead of going that stretched out awkward period.
yes, yes. I purposely asked my parents to keep the pictures away from because those were some rough scenes.
Oh, yeah. I seem to recall I had buck teeth in those years.
I had very short, curly, frizzy hair, huge glasses.
Yep. Okay. So speaking of books, you came out with one in September.
Yes,
You want to, can you hold it up and show the audience?
yes. So
Okay.
it's ABCs of FASD.
Okay.
And the whole purpose was when I first started writing the book, it was for a much younger audience. I wanted to list something. My goal was to take a letter of the alphabet and have it be make it into a positive word for those with FASD to where they would feel empowered, they would feel positive about themselves. They could take that word and be like, I'm amazing. A is for amazing. I'm amazing. B is for beautiful. I'm
Hmm.
beautiful. And then the more that I wrote it, I started to think about a lot of other words that go with FASD that could help a much older audience, like accommodations, just consequences,
Hmm.
intervention. It just snowballed from there, and I ended up
Yeah.
writing it very quickly, finished writing it very quickly once I was on the path that it was supposed to take. The path that it was
Mhm.
supposed to take when it just took off, and I'm
Okay.
very, very happy with it.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think I remember on one of, because you were kind enough to send me screenshots of your pages because I didn't think to order the book in time for the interview. And I really, I get a kick out of it. So I don't know if, so it's kind of like, that made me think of finger painting, which I loved doing as a kid.
Yes.
And, arts are something that we do just to work out a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Some people turn to art much more than others,
Yeah.
but you have this, let's see, is the very first thing, my name's Edme. Is that
Yeah, and me. Yep.
okay? So is that your pen name or is that your daughter's name or
So, no, when I dreamed about writing this book, he just came to my mind, a young girl with red hair and curly red hair, and she's got freckles all over her face, and she's a little bit quirky and nerdy and
yeah,
just loves art. Who I and maybe a lot of the things I felt about myself at that age. So that's how she came to be, and
okay.
she just beats to her own drum. She
Yeah.
loves that she's quirky and different, and she just is
Yeah.
really talented with arts and,
All right. So did you do finger painting or did you generate that just on the computer or Canva?
I used, Canva. I
Uh-huh.
love
I do too.
yeah, I love it. So I used Canva. I used ChatGPT. Man, AI is such a curve for some of us too with FASD, such a learning curve, but also such a really great tool as well, I found.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I used.
Yeah. So, well, I really enjoyed the book. Well done. Well done. So it launched in September, the end of September. So it's been out for 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you pleased with the sales at this point?
There haven't been really many sales. It's so funny because my other 2 children's books are the one that are jumping up in sales. So, it was interesting when I first promoted my first 2 children's book years ago, this was like 7 years ago, social media was a lot different. Everybody was on it, and everybody I think we've gotten we have begun disengaging a little bit from social media, I've noticed. There's not a lot of people on that used to be, so it's harder to get
Yeah.
other people to share it or to get as excited
Yeah.
about it, this time around, but that's
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
putting it out. My goal was
Yeah.
never for a big amount of sales. At the end of the day, if a kid is learning about themselves and they take this book and they just suddenly feel really good about themselves and they think that they're not the only one, they
Mhm.
think that there's a community out there and they just know that they're not alone and they are enough. That's all I really want.
Yeah. Well, and I would echo that because anyone that thinks that an author, like an indie author, right, who just has, a handful of books that aren't part of a series or if you don't have a big name like James Patterson, right?
Which is my
Do
favorite author, by the way.
we don't get rich for
Yeah,
books because the
yeah.
royalties are I mean,
So, so
you can't even get a fast food lunch with the
absolutely.
royalty from a book,
Yep, and on
right?
Amazon, I even made my royalties less because I wanted the printing and all of that to be better. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not a career.
But we do want the sales because
Yeah.
we want the book out there changing lives.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I really hope my end game goal is for this to be in classrooms,
Yeah.
or in diagnostic or even really I mostly see it in places where people are getting their diagnosis or, therapy, counseling, psychologists, psychiatrists'
Yeah.
offices,
Yeah.
work so well with understanding your diagnosis too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're writing it for that age of a child that's just getting old enough to understand abstract things.
Absolutely.
So that of course that's a little delayed for many of us with
Yeah.
FASD, but
Yep.
yeah, I just think that's a fantastic age to reach out to kids, to target for your audience.
Absolutely.
Well done. Yeah. So you've known for a while, you've been on this journey for a while. What are some of your observations with how far we've come, how far we need to go still? What do you want to see happen in the near future?
It's funny because my mom she worked in the mental health field for kids, that were just really struggling growing up. And so it's really awesome now. Social media is amazing in the aspect that when my mom was doing mental health, you didn't have support groups at the touch of your fingertips.
Yeah.
You were traveling miles, hundreds of miles maybe,
Yeah.
or trying to get a phone call maybe to meet with other people. Our FASD community is right at our fingertips. I have all these friends in my phone, like we could talk every day. So I think it's amazing that social media has helped us. I really think social media has been a big part of why we're able to advocate so
Mhm.
much more for FASD and get it out there. I do think we have a lot further to go though, especially in the medical field. There's just, budget cuts or whatever, funding, whatever you want to place the blame on. There's just so much more that we could be doing in the schools, in
Mhm.
the doctor's offices, for prenatal care, for mothers struggling with
Mhm.
substance abuse to help them get the help that they need. If they're an addict during their pregnancy. There's just so many
Yeah.
different things that we need to be helping further. Yeah, I'm grateful for all the work that's been done. The FASD Act, that's amazing. There's been a lot.
Finally, and it's on the
I know.
president's desk.
I know, I was so excited about that. Our community is amazing.
Yeah.
We have so many people that have pounded the pavement, that have made their voices been heard, that
Yeah.
have got up, that have fought this good fight and don't give up.
Yeah.
I'm just incredibly proud of our community and what it's
Yeah.
done and
Yeah.
what we'll keep doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you do for advocacy other than writing children's books?
Yeah, so I used to have a website and blog called Love Me Enough Faces of Fetal Alcohol. So I
Mhm.
had my blogs up there. I would write a lot. I would share other people's stories on there. I would write their stories. Ever since COVID, really, I took a step back. William, my son, he's 6 now, about to be 7. As a single mom, I had to take kind of a step back from advocating so much. He was just taking up a lot of my time, which he should, and that's amazing. So
Yeah.
now I'm just trying to get back out there into advocating. I was on the Facets board for a while. I've attended multiple no fast galas when it was no fast. So I'm just starting to get out back there now. I have a couple of ideas on I want to do my own podcast and I want to have my own Facebook page I have a couple of ideas that are out there, but I really do want to jump more back into advocating because I
Mhm.
feel like that's my passion, that's my
Yeah.
purpose that I was put on this earth to do, and that's the most
Yeah.
when I feel most alive.
Yeah. What would you wanna share about the challenges that you have faced there?
Yeah, so it's a good reminder when I see William struggling with things, like, where when Jeff and I were on that cruise, we went snorkeling, and I was in an unfamiliar area. The guy was trying to give us a lot of directions on what I need to do. There was a lot of different sensory issues going on, the waves, the weather. I was trying to pay attention to a bunch of different things. I was on FASD overload in that moment, and that brought me back to William at sometimes. He can get super overwhelmed when he's in situations that he's unfamiliar or be giving a lot of information he doesn't know and he's trying to learn. It just made me remind myself that my kiddo and I are a lot alike, and I need to be more patient with him too because he's just trying to figure this all out like I am. I think parents need to give themselves a lot more grace too and compassion because
Mhm.
it's always the parents that think they're failing their kids that are wondering if they're doing enough, wondering if they're not doing certain things. Like those are the parents that are always the best parents that
Yeah.
are pouring it into them. And I know so many FASD moms out there, adults with FASD who have children that aren't on the spectrum or are, and they're like reaching out to me. I'm stressed out. I don't feel like I'm good enough, but you are just by thinking you're not like you are. You're the mom that cares,
Yeah.
and that is going to
Yeah.
be the difference maker. And I'm just so grateful that I get to be a mom and experience this. And I just have a lot more respect for all the moms out there because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I think we've come a long way with that because, I've talked with other people who spent their pregnancies in fear that if the social workers found out that they had FASD, their kids would be taken away from them.
Yeah.
And I think back to that movie, that Sean Penn movie, I Am Sam,
Such a good movie.
and but there are so many disabilities that, when there's a lack of understanding, there's judgment and fear, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are not part of that family system spend a lot of their time in what if land.
Yeah.
What if this happens? Or what if that happens? Or what if, and so, it's a fear based instinct to pull those kids. But really, there's no reason to do that.
Yeah.
It's parenthood is no different than any other task that we take on as people that, with the right supports, it's shine on, right?
I think
Yeah.
that thing too that's been really helpful is having my parents taught me at an early age to advocate for myself really hard. And so if I hadn't gone through everything I went with my own diagnosis, I wouldn't have known where to start with William. Like when I realized that over the last summer William was I thought maybe he had autism. I thought maybe he had ADHD. Maybe I thought a million things were going on with him. He was not my happy
Mhm.
sweet kid. He was having outbursts. He was angry. He was violent. Like there was something really going on with this kid. And when I realized that, I was like, I've got to do something. And I went into advocate, got ready, boots strapped, and I was like, I'm gonna advocate for my kiddo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get him the
Yeah.
support, the services that he need. And I felt
Yeah.
equipped enough to do that. And that just empowered me even more. Like I'm gonna fight
Hmm.
for my kiddo.
Hmm.
So I'm grateful too for having that experience to
Yeah.
advocate.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that sense of purpose and determination, so many of us growing up with an unknown disability, right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily invisible because behaviors make it plain, or make it
Very
obvious,
yeah.
even if it's not identified. So many of us, we're tenacious.
Yeah.
To borrow Rebecca Toulou's word,
Yes.
we are
Tenacity.
tenacious. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's another good book, right? Tenacity?
Yes.
So
There's
good.
just so many incredible people in our community with so many
Yeah,
incredible skills that are just mind-blowing.
yeah, yeah. Well, is there anything specific you'd like to see happen in
I think
what would you like to hear if you went to the Seattle conference? What would
yeah.
you want to have announced? Like, "This is coming."
I want there to be more programs for women in recovery. I really think there needs to be a huge focus on that,
Okay.
especially after COVID. I live in Portland, Oregon. Addiction is right outside my window. The addiction population is just skyrocketed, and that's gonna lead to women getting pregnant, as we all know. We have to stop it where it starts, and
Yeah.
the only way we're gonna do that is if we put in a lot more recovery houses and
Mhm.
just fill them with people that are passionate about that and wanna help them. There just has to be a we need to do a lot more for addiction. That's what I'd like to see, but also in the schools too, I don't think teachers are supported enough. I don't think
Mhm.
faculty is supported enough.
Mhm.
Mental health professionals aren't supported enough.
Right.
So I would like to see changes in
Yes.
that too.
Our social
No,
workers.
I just don't want there to be a burnout. I know everybody's overwhelmed and trying to do their
Yeah.
best with the little resources that they have. So I just would like to see more resources and support go to those
Mhm.
places.
And I think the recovery community faces an extra challenge because women's rehab programs, I mean, the 30-day or 90-day or year-long programs, they tend not to take pregnant women
Yeah.
because they don't want the liability of it.
Yeah.
But so where does that leave the woman and her baby?
Yeah. I remember when I first
Mm.
started advocating, a woman told me, "I don't believe you can never convince me that a mother drank alcohol purposely to hurt her child." And that resonated with me so deeply because I at that point when I heard that, I was still very angry with my own birth mother. I hadn't gotten to a place of forgiveness yet, and she
Mhm.
completely changed my mind on that. I do
Okay.
strongly believe that as well. Just
Have
want
you ever connected back with your birth mother?
so I did actually. I ended up finding letters that she had written to me in prison, and I scoured for years and years and years on social media. Finally found her. I was living in Portland still at the time. She was living in Spokane, Washington. She had, from the one picture I have from her as a child, she had aged. She looked very weathered, worn. So we ended up doing a FaceTime call. She wasn't there. It's very clear that she was strung out. She was asking me for money. I don't even she couldn't even really I asked about my birth story, and she had had so many children, I don't think she could even keep things
Yeah,
straight. It was a very difficult conversation. I
yeah.
dreamt about that day for so long, all the different ways it would go, and it ended up going in the absolute
In
worst.
in a completely different direction you had not anticipated.
Yeah, and
That's
then,
very difficult.
uh, a week later, she OD'd and died, so that was yeah, that was pretty tough, but
Yeah.
I made peace with it, and she did give me some things about her child, like, I didn't know she was in foster care herself.
Mm,
Her mom drank during her pregnancy, so she was
mhm.
able to give me a much broader picture of what brought her to the point where she was at, so I'm so
Yeah,
grateful for that.
yeah. That
Yeah,
that enabled you to be compassionate.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. She didn't have nobody she was never given the support I was given as a child.
Mm,
She was never given a safe, loving home. She was in foster care until she was 17 and aged out. She was,
yeah,
abused growing up. So how can I place blame on somebody who didn't have any of the things I was
yeah.
given to succeed? I
She
can only
she was
feel
just trying to survive.
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm glad you had the compassionate heart that you do and that you were able to reach that healing point of forgiveness and understanding and
Yeah,
grace. Yeah.
me too.
A lot of social workers through the years, I would hear them, and I worked for a small agency that the county contracted with. I worked for a couple of those agencies, but a lot of times I would hear county workers whose caseloads are enormous, right?
Yeah.
Just kinda They get so burnt out because the
Sure.
caseloads are so high and nobody's happy to deal with them.
Yeah.
Just really high burnout and stress, and a lot of them would gripe to one another about birth moms. Oh, why can't they get it together? It's not like we ask them hard things to do, but there's a complete lack of awareness that just as alcohol tends to run down generations in family systems, so do the effects of alcohol, which includes
Yep.
FASD.
Yep. Absolutely.
And, it's not that a lot of these birth moms won't do their case plan, it's that they can't without the proper supports and accommodations.
Absolutely.
But the workers aren't going to do that if they don't understand and see the need.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tragedy all the way around. Nobody is equipped the way they need to be equipped and
I
supported.
completely
Um,
agree.
yeah. But it's the stories that change lives, right?
Yeah.
Just as you knew the facts about, most women will make lifestyle changes the minute they find out they're pregnant or even suspect,
Yeah.
you know, that's a fact. It's the stories that cause that heart change,
Yeah.
and that's true for all of us, no matter what our role in life is.
Yeah. I think that's why it is so important that we all just keep advocating, sharing our stories with as many people as we can. It's always amazing to me. I was at an airport a couple years ago and I was going to the Hawaii Center of Excellence with Nate Sheets because we were doing an
Mhm.
FASD conference there. And there was a couple there, and I overheard them talking about their daughter who had FASD, and I stopped and I was like, "I don't mean to intrude, but I heard you talking about your daughter. I have FASD."
Mhm.
And there's just those genuine connections. There's so many people in this world living with FASD, and I've been changed. Even though I'm on the spectrum, I am continually changed over and over and over again by the stories I hear from people in our
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. The resilience and the tenacity is just amazing, but we do what we have to do. We
Yeah,
find accommodations. Maybe they're not the best or the most helpful or most healthy, but
yeah,
we're constantly seeking for what can help us in the moment.
yeah. You touched on something when you said we're all just trying to survive, and my hope for everybody in the FASD community would be, I know we've all been there where you're just trying to survive. That's the bottom line, just trying to survive whatever it is you're getting through, and
Mm.
I hope that anybody in our community is able to get to a point where they don't feel like they're just surviving anymore. Again, with that burnout, I take time for yourself. Self preservation is so important. Things that there's just a lot of heartbreak, there's a lot of depression um, in our community too. So find things that lift you up, find things you enjoy, find your passions, and just, yeah,
Yeah, I when I worked with a lot of adolescents, thinking about where they're beginning to dream at that point, what am I going to do when I grow up? And there's a lot of that naivety. Like I remember, I think my nephew was about 14. Like, so what do you want to do? And he's like, oh, and he's into computers, has always been into computers. He's like, when by the time I'm 25, I'm going to be richer than Bill Gates. Okay. I'm going to ask you about that again in a handful of years.
yeah,
But really good advice, especially if we're not on the super academic career path, is what are your interests? What
yeah,
brings you joy? And
yes.
and what are you good at? And
Yeah,
finding a way of making money doing those things.
yeah, incorporating absolutely, yep.
Yeah. So, which in his case was computers, but yeah, he's not
Maybe
richer
not
than Bill
oh,
Gates. That didn't pan out.
my son wants to be a famous YouTuber right now, so
Yeah. Yeah, no, that didn't work out. But, and that was part of my struggle as well because, I fortunately, academically, I had the abilities to graduate early.
yes.
Mm. I started college at 16 as a way of
17, graduated early. Yep,
yeah, I wanted to get away from my stepfather And
Okay.
so I went to college dorms at 16.
Wow.
That's not advisable.
Yeah, I don't imagine.
I was
But
ready, but not socially, right?
yeah.
So, but one of the problems was no 16-year-old knows what he or she wants to do when they grow up,
Yep.
when they've thrown themselves into that grown-up role early, even without being delayed
Yeah,
socially or developmentally. That makes it even harder. Every
sure.
time I changed my major, most of those times I also changed the school.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot on your plate.
By the time I started my junior year, I had like 120 credits.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is truly a feat, though. That's incredible.
I
That is
probably have a couple doctorate degrees worth of credits by now, but they're just not aligned in a way for me to get the
yeah,
shoe again. Not
you're
even they're not even aligned in such a way that I could get a license. It's well rounded.
cool.
Yeah. But find something that you enjoy and a way to make money at it and go for it. That's probably my biggest advice to the younger people with living with FASD
Yeah.
at this point,
Yep.
and to their parents who are worried to death.
Yes.
Is my kid going to succeed? What's life going to be like for them? How are they going to make it? Because especially a parent with FASD also, we know how vulnerable our kids are during those transitional years. Those years are hard for anybody, but especially if we
Maybe it
have
really
issues.
does. I would not go back. There
Yeah.
is no
Oh
way.
no. No. 40s were fabulous. That that
Really?
was that was
Okay.
that was my favorite decade. He's not so much in the 60s. Well, let's just say I'm falling apart. So far I'm not impressed. My 60s so far.
Aren't those supposed to be the golden years too?
I'm not there yet. Not there yet. But thank you for joining me today, Helen. It's been absolutely a delight.
I'm glad we finally got to talk and meet
Yeah.
up. It's just
Yeah.
really a pleasure being on here. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You are more than welcome, and send me a good photograph of your book cover, and
Okay.
I will help promote your book,
Thank
and
you.
send me a link that I can put in the show notes. So,
Absolutely.
call to action, everybody. If you want a book for your youngin, or for the children of your good friends, or whoever might benefit from knowing the ABCs about FASD, check the show notes out to look for the link to get Helen's book.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so much.
right. Right. I am so glad that you tuned in to today's candid conversation, and I hope you found it very valuable in adding to the breadth and depth of your knowledge about fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. I also hope we made you laugh along the way. I'm so honored to bring you these candid conversations week by week, and I'm so grateful that you keep coming back. You are my faithful audience, and I'm so grateful for you. Please reach out to me at livingwithfasdpodcast@gmail.com. If you have suggestions on topics you want me to cover, that you want maybe to learn more about, or guests that you think would be excellent to invite to be on the show, I'm always happy to get your suggestions. And I'm also happy to hear if any of these episodes have touched your life. Please share your story with me. You never know, I might invite you to come on the show. If you want to pick up a copy of my book, Sip by Sip, Conversations with Adults Living with FASD, you'll find the ordering links in the show notes, along with my Calendly link if you want to schedule a complimentary call to talk about any training or coaching needs that you might have that I might be able to help you with through my company, Kasper's FASD Life Coaching and Training LLC. Now, if today's guest has given me contact information to share and you want to reach out to them, that information will also be in the show notes. So in the meantime, I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy week to watch or listen to this podcast on whatever platform you have found me on. And please, please, please subscribe, and share this podcast so that others can find it. That's how they find it, is when you share it. And The more people that find the podcast, the more people learn about FASD and the less hidden we are. So that's it for today. It's a wrap. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you next time on Living with FASD. Take good care.